Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC Rays fans, let's take a deep breath. It is a good evening to you, and how you be? William Haynes here, you there, here at 11:53 here on this Wednesday night on the William Haynes Show, as always live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. The 2020 World Series is now knotted up at one game apiece. It was the Rays 6-4 over the Los Angeles Dodgers. A little bit of a rough start from Blake Snell after a really good, start to the start. Bullpen was a little bit shaky as well. Anderson gives up a home run, as does Pete Fairbanks. Aaron Loop, a perfect inning, and Diego Castillo comes in to get the final out. The offense finally getting off the ground seemingly as well. I think scoring 6 runs for the first time since, as I could take a look back here. Oh, okay, it was let's see. Scoring 6 runs for the first time since, Game 3 of the ALDS against the New York Yankees. So it has been a little while. Don't want to bury the lead here. Brandon Lau, a 2-home-run game. I think only a handful of players to ever hit. I want to say is it 3 or... I think I'm getting it confused, but select company among players who have hit multiple home runs in a World Series game. Again, it was 2 home runs for Brandon Lau tonight, including 1 in the first inning. He got the other in the 5th. The one in the first was a solo shot. The one in the 5th counted for 2 runs. Looking across the board as well, I mean, there was a lot of people getting involved offensively tonight. Wendell, an RBI double. He also had a sac fly later, and That was the scoring at least, but a lot of guys were getting hits, a lot of good games offensively. The stat sheet, the box score is completely loaded up, a lot of pinch hits, a lot of pinch running. The Dodgers, I believe, they used, by my math, 7 pitchers in tonight's game. I heard a stat, I think, in the 88 World Series for the Dodgers, they used a total of 7 pitchers in the series. And in one game here tonight, the Dodgers used 7 pitchers. We knew it was going to be an opener day for them, and one of the keys, I guess, to a victory tonight we talked about on last night's show was they got to pounce on the Dodgers early. They took a little bit different strategy than I was anticipating with the righty Gonsolin. We knew he was just going to be an opener, but we've seen Kevin Cash be aggressive righty-lefty against openers before. It comes to mind that game against the Red Sox where they start the righty opener, and then Cash responds with a total of 9 lefties, and I think they get on the board in that contest pretty early. So we imagined maybe they would go heavy lefties once again. It is just a 5-4 split in favor of the left-handers, or the lefty batters, rather. So, but it ends up working out. Again, 6 runs is huge. It's been, again, a long, long time since then. It was since the ALDS that happened. So good to see the offense doing what they do. I think I think holding the Dodgers to 4 runs, honestly, is not such a bad thing, especially with the start I think that Blake Snell ended up having. He had a no-hitter through, I think 4 innings plus. He actually got 4 2/3 no-hit, and then it all unraveled from there. So really ended up being an interesting contest, and of course, as I mentioned, with Anderson and Fairbanks giving up the home runs, they both get, Anderson gets 4 outs, Fairbanks gets 5. They've got the off day tomorrow, so you would assume that everyone would pretty much be available tomorrow. It's going to be, or rather on Friday, it's going to be Charlie Morton going up against Walker Buehler. So we wait in anticipation for that game. But in the meantime, obviously we have a win to discuss. At the end of the show, we'll preview Game 3, as we won't be on the air tomorrow, but we'll be back on Friday night to recap that Game 3. With that being said, we'll also open up the phone lines right now at 877-566-1020. For anyone that would like to call in and talk Rays, we've got a line open for you. In the meantime, again, I mean, I've got the box score, got the game card, everything that I need. For the Rays tonight, it was 6 runs on 10 hits, no errors. And for the Dodgers, 4 runs on 5 hits, 1 error. I think holding the Dodgers to 5 hits, that's definitely a victory in and of itself. The lineup as well, if I can even rattle it off correctly, it's going to be a little wild. The defensive alignment in the outfield will start from left to right. It was Arozarena in left, Kiermaier in center. In right field, it was Manny Margot. And in the infield from third to first, it was Joey Wendell at third, Willie Adames at shortstop, Brandon Lau at second, G-Man Choi at first base, Mike Zunino the catcher, Austin Meadows was the DH, and we know the starting pitcher was Blake Snell. And the way the lineup was structured, Austin Meadows led off, followed by Brandon Lau and Arozarena. G-Man Choi cleaned up, followed by Margot and Wendell, and a bottom 3 of Adames, Kiermaier, and Zunino. The lineup kind of did surprise me. I thought we knew that I think Meadows and Choi were both going to be in the lineup, and I guess I had forgot that Kevin Cash loves to lead off Austin Meadows, and I think he's a good leadoff hitter. It's just I guess it gets a little bit lost with the struggles that he's had this year. We're actually going to take a call right now. And we actually did lose him there. That was Sebastian in Canada. I don't know if that was on my end. If you're listening to this, definitely call back. The call got dropped right there, so my apologies for that again. Number to call is 877-566-1020. All right, we got him right back. And we've got Sebastian calling from Canada. Sebastian, you're on the William Haynes Show. How's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good, thanks.
Cool, yeah. What a good game, eh? Good game. I thought, we talked yesterday, and I was talking about how I had some faith that the bats were going to wake up, and it was really good to see, that home run by Brandon Lau, and then the second home run as well. Good to see his bat waking up, and I just thought overall, it was a good performance from the hitting. Despite, I think, 7 man left on base.
Yeah.
It's good to see it. I don't know do you know how many strikeouts he had today?
We struck out 7 times, so that's not too bad, I'd say.
Okay. Not too bad considering, I guess, yeah. So I thought it was good. It was a good win, good for the morale. And, like I said yesterday, I'm looking forward to the rest of the series and to see how this plans out.
Absolutely, yeah. It was so crucial, I think, to tie the series up. It's now basically, if you want to look at it that way, a best of 5. And I think Charlie Morton and Walker Buehler in Game 3, that's definitely kind of an aces duel in a way. That'll be a good game, and who knows what direction that will ends up going. I think it was huge for Brandon Lowe to do what he did. I mean, the home runs was huge, and he was going opposite way, and I know Dave Wills and Andy Fried on the radio were really happy about that as well, because mostly I think Brandon Lowe's been a pull hitter, so to see him going opposite way as well, maybe a sign that maybe he's getting some timing back in the right direction. And then Meadows gets a hit as well. It can't all be a Rosarena at the top of the order who got walked a couple times, so if you can combine all those things together. Rosarena, then they don't pitch to him fine, he walks, but then you can get some really good guys coming up behind him. If Lau's going to continue to hit homers, if Meadows can get on base as the leadoff hitter, yeah, definitely the offense could be headed back in the right direction easily.
Yeah, and I knew coming into this series it was probably going to be a lot tougher for Rosarena to get that, final record-breaking home run as a rookie, just because, I mean, coming into the series, you got to know that they're not going to give you anything good to pitch. So, they'll pitch around you if they have to. They'll walk you if they have to. So, seeing him get that hit today was nice to see as well, because, he's just so locked in at the plate, man. It's unbelievable how he can recognize pretty much any pitch and sort of, get to it. So, I mean, I would love to see him get another home run, but even if he just continues to get these hits, and he gets good at bats as well, so I'd love to see more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point about his pitch recognition, and he's got good plate discipline. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it's going to start rubbing off on some of those other guys. And then bottom of the order as well. Margot gets a couple of hits. There was Joey Wendell with 3 RBIs, and that was huge what he did. So they're getting production all the way up and down. And I know in the earlier rounds, they did get some solid production at the bottom, but now getting more production at the top. This is getting to the point where if they're going to play a complete lineup 1 through 9, yeah, maybe they'll start scoring runs more consistently. Yeah,
and we can't forget Adames too. He got that double, even though it didn't lead to anything else. It's great to see that. He's had a rough time at the plate, and I know he's probably really relieved that he finally got one in there for an extra base hit on top of that. So, just because, the score was 6-4, I think there's a lot more positives to take away from it, and it's a good sign, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, Willie Adames has come through a couple times at the plate, maybe not as much as we'd like, but the fact that he's been playing that stellar defense as well really helps. I know we had that kind of chuckle at the end of our discussion last night about Blake Snell, and I think ultimately it ended up going just as we had both suspected. He walks 4 men, had the no-hitter going through 4 2/3, and it just, again, I've kind of trademarked the phrase, his just refusal to acknowledge the strike zone. It's getting ridiculous. Yet it looks like he had a good game plan for, the first handful of innings, and then, like it always does, it just ended up unraveling for him.
Yeah, and I think you called the two earned runs in the, 4+ innings, so you were pretty spot on that. That kind of popped into my mind as I saw that inning unfolding. But yeah, he did what we thought he would do, and that's just classic Blake Snell right there. And he got, 9 strikeouts or 8 strikeouts or
9,
something?
9, yeah.
9, yeah. So that's pretty good considering he only did, 4+, or did he get to the 5? I don't think he got the
4
6, right?
4 2/3, yeah.
4 2/3. Okay, so that's about two strikeouts per inning, which is pretty good. But then, like you said, his Achilles heel is those walks. But at least he's able to control the running game a lot better, and he almost seems like a better pitcher when he has runners in scoring position. It's like he knows he can't kind of screw around, and he has to make the pitches. So, it's good to see that kind of bounce back, especially after the 2 rough starts that he had before that one. I know he got the 1 win in Houston, but even that outing wasn't his. He didn't look good. I guess the stat line for that game would make it look better than what he looked like watching the actual game. It was pretty sloppy. So it's good to see him kind of get back and get those strikeouts in this one.
Yeah, I think that's right. his stat line pretty much the same. He did have that rough start against the Yankees. I was thinking maybe he did better, 5 innings of 4 runs. That's just the thing. It seemed like the Yankees were prone to chase a little bit more, although they are pretty disciplined. But in the case of the Astros and especially the Dodgers as well, they're just so disciplined at the plate. You know, they're not going to strike out a lot. They're not going to chase a lot of those Snell pitches. So I was hoping that he was going to change the game plan, and what really perplexes me the most is I think Kyle Snyder has played a big role in the way these first 2 games have gone, because it seemed like whatever was Glasnow kind of changed it up. He was throwing a lot more changeups and stuff, and that, to me, my impression was that came from Kyle Snyder, and it looked like Snell attacking the strike zone early on probably came down from Kyle Snyder, my guess. And then Snell just ended up going away from it. Snyder comes out for the mound visit. As soon as he goes off, Snell is throwing strikes right and left, and then he just loses the zone again. So Snell is really just such a confusing case, and I don't feel great about the Dodgers seeing him another time around later in the series. So I don't know. We're probably looking at maybe another 4-inning start from him if we get to that point down the line.
Yeah, I think you got a pretty good point there, because I was thinking the same thing. I thought, he got away with this game. That's probably has to do with, they don't know him too well. I guess they probably faced him last year, I think. I don't know if Snell pitched against him last year or not, but even then, that's kind of minimal. But you're right, seeing him coming up in the rotation again for a second time could potentially be scary, and especially with a team like the Dodgers that are just they're so disciplined at the plate, like you said. They don't tend to chase much. They'll take their walks. They won't swing and miss a lot, I guess, and that can be a real challenge. So hopefully he can come up with a good game plan. And I actually didn't even realize the point that you made about him kind of having to get reeled back in by Kyle Snyder. And, I think that kind of speaks a lot to how talented even the coaching staffs are, because they can sort of realize that, and they have a way with their players to kind of try and get them back on track.
Yeah, I mean, the question I just have about Snell, if he's attacking the strike zone early in the game and it's working and he's getting easy outs, why is he going away from it? It seems like he just does this every time, that he just wants to get all these strikeouts. It seems like he's just so anti-fly out or ground out that he just wants to punch everyone out. To me, it gets more confusing every time he takes the mound. It's just this. I think from this point on, as long as Snell's with the Rays, this is just, I guess, what we're going to get from him. It's just going to be this kind of frustrating stuff where he's good and he can get through innings, but he's leaving a lot of meat on the bone every time.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that has to do with his pitch selection. I'm not really too good at sort of picking up which pitches it is that he throws. Besides the obvious ones with a big change in speed or something, I can kind of pick those out. But I'm wondering if it's just just his pitch selection, the break is just not, he's not locating it where he wants to. He always wants that slider sort of down and away, but he never seems to be able to get it much in the zone, and he gets lucky because he gets a lot of chases from it. But I don't know. I wonder how much of that is intentional and how much of it is, maybe he's just a bit off. I don't know.
Yeah, one thing I saw from him tonight, which I haven't seen a whole lot of, curveballs and sliders up in the zone, which is a little bit more rare. And he did do a lot of those sliders down and away, but getting some up in the zone. And I think it was working at first. And then I think where it kind of unraveled for him a bit, and I guess if you want to call it a bad call or whatever the case was, when those curveballs early in the game that the Dodgers were taking for strikes, when they started getting called for balls, I think that was a point in the game where it started to unravel for him too. So that's a big part in Snell's game as well. Just I guess it could depend by the home plate umpire if certain pitches are going to get called for strikes, because it seems like a lineup like the Astros or Dodgers that aren't prone to chase, they're going to take a lot of those pitches. So if they get called for strikes, great. If they don't, Snell's going to be in a little bit of trouble like he was tonight.
That's right, and I think a big part of it too is, this is, I guess, pretty obvious to us because we're pretty, I guess we're pretty involved in the actual at bats and the sequences and stuff. But if he doesn't get those curveballs or those sliders in the zone away or at the edges, then that kind of screws up his entire game plan, because that's his game plan, right? He'll start out with the fastball. hopefully for strikes, like, at the top of the zone or something, or at the bottom of the zone, whatever. And then if his slider's getting called for, if his slider's not getting called for strikes, then they'll just spit on anything that's kind of low in the way, right? And so it's really important, I think, for him to get those early strikes. And I think you're right. I think that's when it started to unravel for him, when he wasn't getting those calls that he was getting at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and I think the last point about Snell, and it's credit to Dave Wills, he pointed this out on the radio broadcast. It seemed like with the game plan, he did do a good job of kind of keeping the Dodgers hitters guessing. It seemed like almost if the Dodgers hitters weren't sure of what was going to come, they were just going to take it. And again, that was back to our previous point, as if they were getting called or not. But he mixed up, it seemed like the first pitch. A lot of guys, like Glasnow or whatever, they'll go to the first pitch fastball pretty much every time. But Snell did a good job of mixing stuff up, and not just different pitches, but different locations as well. He did face 20 men and only threw first pitch strike to 11, so could have done a bit better job of establishing the first pitch strike, but maybe that was just part of whether it was called. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, just that's it for Snell, really. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to mention was, how about Aaron Loup? He looked really good today. I mean, I haven't seen him looking. I mean, he's always been pretty solid. I've always liked the guy. He gets some flack sometimes, but I thought he looked really good today, really dominant. Not even sure how many pitches he threw and how many of those were strikes, but I bet it wasn't many balls that he was throwing.
He threw 11 pitches and 9 were for strikes, and you're right, yeah. And I know we had talked about there was one that I guess was, according to the home plate ump, was a little bit high. It should have been probably called a strike. So, yeah, and it seems like those relievers, I give Yarbrough a lot of credit for this, but Loup more so, he is kind of like a Yarbrough just out of the pen, a sidewinding lefty type. It's just, even if you don't have great stuff, if you can just attack the strike zone and get those strikes and get ahead of hitters, it does you more good than bad, and Loup certainly utilized that. As a fan perspective, I was just kind of hoping they'd let him get the final out so he could get kind of a World Series save. What a story that would be. But Castillo gets that final out, but that was good. But yeah, Loup getting some huge outs out of the pen. I think having to use Nick Anderson early, and that part, if Snell could have gotten through 5 clean, we would have seen someone else in the 6th. But because there was men on base in the 5th inning, we had to have Anderson early. I think that completely changed the dynamic on how Cash played the rest of the game. So there was going to have to be guys that weren't as well known that would have to come through in spots, and Loup was one of those.
Yeah, and it worked out, and he played the bullpen just how, I guess he played it just enough to sort of get the result that he wanted. So props for the pitching staff on that as well. And there was one more thing I was going to ask you. Interesting to see sort of Brett Phillips kind of pinch running for Arozarena there. I mean, I was a little confused because, they're both pretty fast guys. So I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that. I mean, I know it was like towards the end, like the last inning, so it wasn't kind of like a big deal. But I was just wondering what your thoughts about that were.
My best guess for that was Cash was just, I think Phillips would have come in at the bottom of the 9th anyways, a defensive replacement. Arozarena, we haven't seen a lot of him. I know when he first came up, I'd kind of lauded him as a 5-tool player, which includes, fielding and throwing and all that. But it seems like with how much Arozarena has DH'd this postseason, that Cash doesn't love him in the outfield. So I think Phillips, I think the only reason Brett Phillips was on this World Series roster was for pinch running and late inning defensive replacement. So I would imagine Phillips would have come in to play defense anyway, but I think Phillips may be a hair faster than Arozarena, so you just pinch run him because he was going to go in anyway. That's the best that I could give you.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, I was just kind of curious because you don't see, like, the Diaz move makes perfect sense. You want to put a guy out there that can run, especially in case you get a base hit. But it was just one of those things I kind of found interesting, that he would be willing to sort of pinch run for him. But that's what he does. I guess that's how he wins the games.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we were talking about last night. Just I think from a fan perspective, a watchability perspective, it's just there's some interesting kind of inside baseball stuff going on the first two games of this World Series. It just makes it intriguing. We talked about the double steals, and now tonight a rare double pinch run, all that kind of stuff. It was kind of a battle of kind of the starters yesterday, now more of a battle of the bullpen. So from a lot of strategy going on, it's a fun series.
It is. I would totally agree with you. It's a really fun series. These two teams match up really well. I think they sort of play into each other's strengths and weaknesses fairly well. Like the Dodgers being such a heavy hitting, like their offense is pretty good, matching up with the bullpen from the Rays and the pitching staff. So it's really fun to see it. And like I was saying this yesterday, and I'll say it again, I'm really excited to see what the next couple games brings.
Absolutely. I think Game 3 has the potential to be maybe just one of the more interesting games in Rays history, just with Charlie Morton and his postseason pedigree, and then Walker Buehler, who has not been so great this year, but was a Cy Young type guy a season ago. I think very interesting there. And then depending on how deep the series goes, these are two teams that are going to be really aggressive with bullpenning and things like that. And a World Series that I think baseball has never quite seen, and we're coming right up on it within the next week or so. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're lucky to experience that, and like I totally agree with you. We've already seen Dave Roberts be really aggressive with his bullpen, even though like it was going to be a bullpen day today. He's just like a Cash 2.0 out there, pretty much. Playing the matchups and that. So like it's interesting to kind of see it from the opposing team's view, because we don't really get to see that much. But like it's our team that's doing it, right? So it is interesting to see, and I enjoyed the series so far, and I'm looking forward to it on Thursday. Right?
Yeah, off day tomorrow. The Game 3 will be on Friday. So yeah, we get to reset the bullpen and things like that.
Yeah, cool.
All right, well, Sebastian, thanks again. Another great call from you, and I look forward to hopefully talking to you later down the line as this World Series continues. Thanks again.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, and that was Sebastian from Canada. As always, a great call from him. We always love having him come on the program. It seems like we see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, and it's always great to hear from him. Anyone else that would like to call in during the program, we have a line open still at 877-566-1020 is the number to call for the next 30 minutes or so. What we have to do is tell you the rest about tonight's win. Finally a win to talk about. Well, finally. We won Game 7, just a few days ago. But now getting back in the win column, this World Series is tied at 1 game apiece. I don't know. It's kind of a weird... I try and look at it this way, but other people may not. Basically, this World Series is now a best of 5. Now, obviously, that each team has 1 win under their belt. And I think maybe, I don't know how that changes how you would maybe strategize with it. Maybe a little more aggressive with the bullpen. We'll have to see. Again, we'll preview Game 3 at the end of the show, but I really think those two starters between Charlie Morton and Walker Buehler essentially are going to cancel each other out. That's what I would imagine would happen. And just a sneak peek on how I feel about it. Obviously, we all like the Rays bullpen a lot more than the Dodgers pen. Interesting that we haven't seen a lot of the Dodgers main guys. We saw Pedro Baez in Game 1, and it seems like he's kind of one of their A guys. But the other two, Blake Trinan, who has had his struggles in the postseason, and also Kenley Jansen, who just really hasn't looked as good the past couple of seasons, but really has been, I think, the Dodgers closer for like the better part of a decade at this point. So a lot of interesting stuff. Again, kind of surprised that we haven't seen it. The off day tomorrow, I think, allows basically the bullpens to completely reset. I'm glad that they decided to go with the off days, even though there's no travel. I think they knew that they couldn't have a best of 5 games of 5 days, off day, 7 games in 7 days, 2 days off, and then 7 games, 7 days again. That just, I don't think they could have gotten away with that. So I would have preferred to see off days in the ALCS as well, but the fact that we're getting them here is nice. I would say probably plays into the hands more of the Rays. I think it was Andy Freed talking about on the broadcast, just making a comment about how deep this Dodgers pen or this pitching staff is. They may not have guys at the back end like a Nick Anderson or a Castillo that are really good at just shutting stuff down, but top to bottom, they've got guys that can get outs. Again, 7 pitchers tonight. I made that comment early in the program that in the 88 World Series, I believe it was, the Dodgers used a total of 7 pitchers in the series. They used 7 pitchers in one game. It was Gonsolin, followed by Dylan Floro, Victor Gonzalez, Dustin May, Joe Kelly, Alex Wood, and former Ray Jake McGee to finish things off. I printed out the scorecards from the 2020 World Series program. They only give you 6 slots for pitchers, so I ran out of room with how many guys the Dodgers were throwing out there, which was kind of a neat thing. It's really interesting as well. It's just that what do you know that it looks like so far, the Dodgers have used more pitchers than the Rays. I mean, that was kind of a part of what Sebastian was saying is like, we don't really see a whole lot of that. We don't see other teams manage their club like the Rays do, and I think a lot of that goes to Andrew Friedman, former VP of baseball ops for the Rays during that kind of Joe Madden era, 2008 to 2010 or 11, and then he goes to LA, I believe, like 2012, 2013, something like that. And he kind of builds a Tampa Bay West in a little bit over there. It seems like they operate a little bit differently. They've got the power hitters basically top to bottom. I'd say obviously they have a lot more money to spend, but kind of those things. I think they were one of the first teams to follow the Rays in the opener, and they've really, I guess, committed to that over the past, at this point, 3 seasons, the better part of 3 seasons. So very fitting that these two teams end up facing off in the World Series. It's now a best of 5, so we very much look forward to seeing how the series progresses. I know, obviously, that the Rays have only appeared in one other World Series. It was in 2008. So these games, regardless of how they go or what the narrative is, are going to go down in Rays history. You know, we've been talking, or Rays fans, I guess, have been talking about the World Series in 2008 for the last 12 years because that's as far as they've ever gone. Again, this was only the second World Series win in franchise history. They lost the series 4-1 to Philadelphia in 2008, and now tying this series up 1 game apiece. A couple of notes that I saw about that I forgot to mention on last night's show. The game 1 of the World Series played in Globe Life Field. It's the open roof or retractable roof stadium, but they do use artificial turf. The first World Series game played on artificial turf since Game 2 of the 2008 World Series in Tropicana Field. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know. There are probably just a handful of teams that play on artificial turf, and so that was interesting. And then I saw another note. I'll pull it up. I guess it came out, a little bit earlier this evening. It was an article on ESPN. Game 1 was the lowest draw, basically the lowest rating, the lowest amount of viewers since, guess when? Game 3 of the 2008 World Series. America doesn't care to watch the Rays, I suppose. And it was basically, I guess, the same amount of viewers. That Game 3 got like 9.8 million viewers, and Game 1 got about 9.1 million viewers. So even less. I know things are different now, not to get too deep into this with the streaming, and that affects how the Nielsen rating works for television. But just interesting, of course, that the lowest rated World Series game since the last time that the Rays were a part of it. There's a reason why this team is so undercovered, so underreported nationally. The reason why whenever this Rays team gets nationally televised games, the announcers don't know a darn thing about the team because no one cares about the Rays outside of basically Central Florida. And I know there's some parts of kind of the Southeast, the Carolinas and things like that have taken to the Rays, and that's all fine and good. But really, from a national perspective, no one cares about this team. So a great chance to, we hoist the World Series championship, the trophy. Maybe some of that stuff starts turning in another direction. Not sure how much it matters either way, but just something that grabbed my attention there. So again, I'll just give it to you one more time. If you want to call in, we have a line open at 877-566-1020. And with that being said, we'll continue to talk about tonight's win. About the lineup, we'll go all the way down. I told you the defense and the structure of the order Austin Meadows led off. He went 1 for 3. He popped out to short his first time up, and the only importance of that is just the leadoff hitter, the first at bat of the game. It was a 7-pitch at bat though. He fouled off a couple, and it was a kind of a splitter middle. So all I could do was pop it up, but that's fine. So a decent leadoff at bat. I'll take that. Batting next, it was Brandon Lau, and he hits 2 home runs, including one in the first inning, and I didn't really buy it when they said Brandon Lau was back with his home run against Houston, and of course he went on to struggle after that. I'm not still going to commit to saying I necessarily buy Brandon Lau being back, but 2 home runs in a World Series game, that can't be, I suppose, understated or kind of however you want to say. A really good game from him tonight. Again, he goes opposite field on both of the home runs. And I don't exactly know kind of the inside baseball with that, what exactly that means. I mean, to me, that means that you're basically just a little bit late on the swing. But it involves a little bit more strength because of that to push the ball all the way out there. And I know going the opposite way is a thing that's incredibly valued in the game right now. So he goes oppo 2 times for home runs, goes 2 for 5, 3 runs batted in. That was the difference tonight in a 6-4 game. So credit for Brandon Lau to finally keep coming through. I was ready to kind of crucify Cash once again for continuing to put Brandon Lau up there. I know Kevin Cash, of course, because he gets asked about it every day, once again gave a vote of confidence to Brandon Lau, and he finally, I guess, rewards his manager for that kind of loyalty, which obviously is good to see. And I think another reason why Kevin Cash knows more baseball, I know they use this in football, Kevin Cash has forgotten more baseball than any of us will ever know. Just that's how smart he is. That's how much he knows about the game. So pretty much all of his decisions end up working out in the end. So good to see Lau come through there. His other at-bats, he grounded out to second, grounded out to the pitcher, and struck out. So there was some kind of weak contact, it looked like, in there, and then a strikeout at the end. But 2 home runs, absolutely fantastic for Lau. Rosarena, batting third, he ends up going 1 for 3 with 2 walks. Sebastian and the caller that we had made some great points about him. Good to see him get the hit at the end. I think he tied Derek Jeter's record, or I think I have it right here. He tied Derek Jeter's record for postseason hits for a rookie with 22. I know that was a kind of a mouthful of a statistic there. So one more will give him the lead, and I think he holds the record now for home runs in a postseason from a rookie. So I think this 2020 postseason for Rosarena will always be remembered. Seemed like the last couple years that's the story. I know Juan Soto for the Nats last year, that was a story with him being like 20 years old and all that stuff. So Rosarena, how old is he? I know he's 25, so a little bit different, but great what he's doing. J-Man Choi batting cleanup. Love him in that spot. He ends up going 1 for 3. Scores a couple of runs. So one was on a fielder's choice. And that was part of a big 4th inning where they put up a couple of runs. Strikes out in the first, runs out, basically double play ball in the 4th, so not a great start. Then singles in the 6th, and he ended up coming across the score there, struck out, and then grounded out in the 9th. So I guess not a great performance from him, but including striking out with a couple of men on base. And then grounding out with a couple of men on base again in the 9th. So did leave a bit of meat on the bone there for sure. So, or no, that was Brasso was it Brasso? I know I'm all, okay. 2 of those, the strikeout and the ground out in the 7th and 9th was Brasso, so that was my mistake there. Margot batted 5th. He goes 2 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Good production from him. I'm kind of hating this new scorecard that I used. Margot had a leadoff walk in the 2nd. Did steal a base as well. Singled in the 4th with a man on. Singled in the 6th with a man on. And then struck out to start the 8th. So I always like to look at that, how they do with runners on base. It looks like he came through there. Batting 6th, Joey Wendell. He goes 1 for 3. Knocks a total of 3 men in. That was good to see. He had a sacrifice fly in the second that moved a base runner over to third. In the fourth, he hit a 2-run double. In the sixth, he had a sac fly. I think that scored. It was G-Man Choi from third base, and then grounded out with the bases empty in the eighth. So a good game from him. And the bottom of the order doing that kind of stuff is so critical, especially when the top of the order isn't hitting. But when the top of the order is hitting and the bottom gives you some production as well, that's when you can kind of start to break through to the tune of 6 runs, which we haven't seen in a while. And really, it took just about every bit of those 6 runs. I mean, 5 would have won, but you get the idea there. Batting 7th, the shortstop, Willie Adames, he had a fielder's choice there in the second and got thrown out at second. Grounded out with a man on second in the fourth. Struck out with a couple of men on in the sixth, and doubled with the bases empty in the eighth. So he ends up going 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position on the night, which is not good, but gets an extra base hit there. Okay, I guess. I mean, I would have liked to see that double come with some men on base, but did get a little bit of production, and the Rays weren't able to drive him in. Batting 8th, it was Kevin Kiermaier, 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. I recall, I don't remember which inning, but a play in center field that he could have had, but Margot came in from right as well, and the ball bounced in between them. I want to say that was actually the double from Justin Turner in the 8th, but I'm not exactly sure. Looking at what he did, grounded out for the first out in the 3rd, struck out for the first out in the 5th, struck out with a couple of men on in the 6th, or maybe just one man on, and then grounded out with Adames at second in the 8th. So he ended up going 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. That is what it is. Was not great in center field either, with just that one kind of impact play there that didn't quite go our way. But you live with it. He hit a home run last night, and that was really cool to see. I know the longest tenured Ray, that kind of stuff is a big narrative. The fact that he gets to World Series is really cool. So hopefully he'll be back. Walker Buehler, as I should probably know this off the top of my head. Is Walker Buehler righty or lefty? Let's figure that out. Walker Buehler's a righty, so I mean Kiermaier was going to be in the lineup anyway, but maybe that gives him a bit of an advantage in Game 3 on Friday. Batting 9th, going 0 for 4, no walks, no strikeouts. Big Z, Mike Zunino. I had anticipated maybe that Mikey Perez would have started this game. He caught a handful of Blake Snell starts this year, so it wasn't like nobody on the staff has a personal catcher. I mean, even Charlie Morton has been caught by a few different guys. So I was expecting maybe to see Mikey Perez start to get that righty on lefty against Gonsolin. They ended up playing Zunino, and for how hot he's been this postseason, I don't know about having an off night. I mean, pops out with the base empty in the 3rd, grounds out with the bases empty in the 5th, grounds out for the first out in the 7th, and grounds out for the first out in the 9th. So I'll give him credit for not striking out, because we've seen him go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts or 3 strikeouts or whatever the case, with him just whiffing at pitches. The fact that he can at least move the baseball. There weren't any runners on, it looked like, when he came to the plate, but, sometimes those ground balls can kind of move some runners over, or I guess in a more negative way, maybe a double play ball. But either way, ends up going 0 for 4. On the night, the Rays lineup in totality strikes out 7 times. They walk 4, which was, I think, a lot better than what they did in Game 1. Yeah, they only walked once in Game 1, so getting a lot more base runners. They get 10 hits, so they got a total of 14 base runners. In Game 1, they got only 7. So you double your base runners, and you double your runs. How interesting is that? They score 3 runs with 7 base runners in Game 1, and in Game 2 they score 6 runs with the 14 base runners. So I think the walks playing a role in that. I told you they struck out 7 times. That's about it for that. They go 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Welcome to the 2020 Rays. Kiermaier 0 for 2, as was Brasso. Adames goes 0 for 3, and Wendell goes 1 for 2 with runners in scoring position. And they leave a total of 7 men on base. They had 1 stolen base in the game, Margot in the second. Adames was trying to run, but he was caught stealing. So that's for that as well. And then with the pitching, and we'll talk about this as we go inning by inning. Snell, 4 2/3 of 2 runs and 2 hits, 4 walks, 9 strikeouts, a home run. 88 pitches, 49 for strikes, which is not good, and it goes right along with his 20 batters faced, 11 first pitch strikes. Just I talked about this on the call with Sebastian, so I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time kind of reiterating this because I already said it on the show, but it just seemed like I liked his game plan, and the reason I bring this up is because Blake Snell, it seems like in his post-game interviews, and they're always kind of negative because it seems like he always kind of underwhelms or underperforms for basically his talent or what he could do. I mean, 5 innings of a couple of runs or whatever the case is not a bad start, which is usually what we get from him, but with his talent, he should be going deeper into ball games, especially because he says that's the guy he wants to be. And it seems like every time he gets on the podium and he's like, yeah, I really like the game plan I came out with, blah, 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 just didn't go my way, various excuses, what have you. I don't know why walking a lot of guys and throwing only half your pitches for strikes is considered a good game plan. And it looked like maybe that changed tonight, and I have no idea. I don't think there's any kind of way that we'll ever be able to kind of find something like this out, but it seemed like Kyle Snyder has played a big role in this World Series with both Tyler Glasnow's and Blake Snell's game plan. It looked like Kyle Snyder almost like told Glasnow to attack the zone a little bit less or to try and kind of nibble at the edges a little bit more. Didn't want Glasnow to throw those fastballs and that were covering too much of the plate because, I don't know, maybe they thought that the Dodgers would be able to take advantage of that. But Glasnow ends up walking 6 men, which is like absolutely absurd, and again throws basically about half his pitches only for strikes, but gives up 3 hits. So again, you throw pitches that don't get any of the plate. Well, I guess the advantage of that is you don't get any hits off you. But I don't care if you give up 3 hits. He ended up giving 6 earned runs, so I don't think it really matters either way. The walks are still base runners. And for Snell, 2 hits over 4 2/3, including that home run that broke up the no-hitter, and then the 4 walks. He really had it going. A 1-2-3 first where he threw 10 pitches, and when I was watching that, and I was like, whoa, okay, Blake Snell came to play. The game plan is good. He's going to attack these hitters. He striked out 2. Maybe this is, he puts himself on the map, blah, blah, blah. Second inning, leadoff walk, strikeout, another walk, and then gets the 2 outs. Third inning gets a 1-2-3, but I think with some deep counts. Fourth inning gets a 1-2-3, but with some more deep counts. Gets the first 2 outs in the 5th. He's rolling. Then walks Kike Hernandez. Okay, whatever. Then gives up the home run to Chris Taylor. It was 4-2 at that point. Walks another man. Gives up a single, and that was his day. So if you take that out, if he could have just gotten that final out in the 5th, who knows? I mean, he could have gone 7 tonight. You talk about a game of inches in the sport of football or what have you. I mean, a game of one pitch, if it goes your way, could change, the entire game. Thankfully, the Rays still ended up winning, and the rest of the guys in the pitching staff did their job. But a little bit unfortunate to see, and Blake Snell is always leaving a lot of meat on the bone. I completely forgot, and definitely credit to Sebastian if you're still listening. My biggest supporter, he brought it to my attention that was my prediction for tonight, and I forgot, but he was right. I think I'd said he wouldn't get through 5 and he would give up 2 or 3 runs, and that's exactly what happened. 4 2/3 of 2 runs. So not gonna say I'm right all the time, but some of my predictions as of late have been going the right way, which I find a little bit funny. Baseball really is a game of patterns, a game of they talk about that baseball players love routine. They like kind of doing the same repetition, that kind of stuff. Well, if you watch baseball long enough, you'll start to kind of figure some of that stuff out and see that there really are patterns and things like that. But I don't think it's really hard for anyone to predict what Blake Snell is going to do, only because he does the same thing every time he takes the mound. So that's, again, all I can really say about that. I knew that tonight's show, win or loss, I was going to spend a big portion of it ranting about Blake Snell, and that's basically what this show has become. Once every 5 days, or it's a Blake Snell hate show. But no, I mean, great that we have him on the staff. Get to know decision today. And another good point that I'm just remembering: if I told you that after 4 innings, 63 pitches, he had yet to give up a hit, walked a couple, that he would not factor into the decision. I mean, you would have to assume that the bullpen blew it or something like that. He didn't even get through the 5th. He finished 4 with 63 pitches and did not finish the 5th. My word, that's it. I got to cut myself off there. No more Blake Snell talk for the rest of the show. Nick Anderson, because of Snell putting some men on there in the 5th and not able to get out of it. Anderson and Dave Wills talks about this on the radio broadcast all the time. You end up kind of chasing outs, and I think the Rays did kind of have to do that. It was Anderson to come on in that spot, and again, that's Cash's decision to do that. No one made him put your best reliever in the 5th inning, but that's really what we've seen to be the case in this postseason. And he gets the strikeout of Justin Turner, which you strike out the number 3 hitter with 2 men on base. That's good. Then in the 6th inning, got the out from Muncy, then a solo shot from Will Smith, which I don't like seeing that pattern of the postseason. Nick Anderson has not been as good in October. Gets Bellinger to ground out, strikes out Edwin Rios, then gets the 7th easily, gets Hernandez, Taylor, and Mookie Betts. Is that right? No. That was Fairbanks, actually, I believe. Yeah, so it was just that's the final out in the 5th and the entire 6th for Anderson, as I was getting ahead of myself. Anderson actually gets the win as well, which is a little bizarre. An inning in the 3rd, an earned run on 1 hit, the solo shot, no walks, 2 strikeouts, 19 pitches, 12 strikes. Pete Fairbanks then comes in the 6th, gives up, gets a 1-2-3 7th, actually, gets Hernandez, Taylor, and Betts, and then in the 8th ran into a little bit of trouble. He only ends up getting 2 outs in the 8th, gives up a home run to Corey Seager, gives up a double to Justin Turner. I believe that was the one that fell in between Kiermaier and Margot, and then gets Muncy and Smith, gets pulled for Aaron Loop, who strikes out Bellinger looking. Loop then proceeds to get the first 2 outs in the 9th. He gets Rios and Kike Hernandez, and then Castillo comes on to get the final out, and he strikes out the 9-man Taylor. So the bullpen, it was a little bit of a wild ride, a couple of home runs given up. One from Anderson and one from Fairbanks, so not great to see from your top 2 guys, but in a game where Anderson gets 4 outs and Fairbanks gets 5, that's basically, a third of the outs of the game from those 2 guys, so good to see from there, and Castillo only had to throw 3 pitches. Off day tomorrow, it doesn't matter. I mean, he'll be good to go, certainly, for Friday's contest. With that being said, we'll try and move a little bit quickly through this inning-by-inning stuff, but the inning-by-inning always brings out a lot of good stuff, looking at pitch location and kind of how things go. Top of the 1st against Gonsolin. Oh, man, we're going to have to go through all these pitching changes. Meadows pops out to start the game, 7-pitch at-bat, good leadoff. Again, it was a splitter at 84 middle. You pop it up, that stuff just happens. Then Brandon Lau starts off 0-1. Takes a fastball low, takes a slider low and in, takes a fastball high, so in a 3-1 count, a fastball that caught a lot of the plate at middle, sends it to left center, goes opposite field, 410 feet, makes it 1-0 Rays in the 1st. Arozarena pops out, kind of chases a slider there. G-Man Choi strikes out there, and again, credit, I talked about it last night, but I'll just bring it up again, the first Korean-born position player to appear in a World Series game, and for all G-Man Choi has done for the Rays, what an honor for him to be able to represent his country and all that here in the World Series. So that's a really cool thing to see, and I'm sure he'll play a big part in hopefully. I don't know if I'm hoping for 5 more games rather, because that would mean another Game 7, which I'm not sure I could take, but. However long this series ends up going, at minimum another 3 games. Bottom of the 1st against Blake Snell, the Dodgers. Betts strikes out swinging. Really, swings through a fastball, takes a fastball, takes a curveball, and chases a slider down and in. So really bad at bat for a really good leadoff hitter in Betts. and that kind of set the tone, at least for the early goings for Snell. Seager flies out in the first pitch, a slider up in the zone, which, again, we saw a lot of those curveballs and sliders up in the zone, which it was a bit strange. Then up comes Justin Turner, takes a couple of fastballs in the zone, goes down 0-2, then on 1 and 2 strikes out on a slider up in the zone. So, again, that was a little bit weird to see. After one inning, it was 1-0 Rays. Top of the second, Gonsolin on. A leadoff walk to Manny Margot. Just took a lot of easy pitches there. He steals second base. Then Wendell flies out to center, but it was deep enough that Margot was able to tag up to third. So a productive out there from Wendell. A runner at third with only one out. They take out Gonsolin, put in Dylan Floro. Adames grounds into a fielder's choice. They put on the contact play. So Margot was running from third on contact. Adames, it's weird to say, but he hit it basically a little bit too hard because it got to the shortstop too quickly. The throw was made out, a mile ahead of Margot, and obviously Adames ends up getting safely to first base. So that basically takes away that little small ball that the Rays were playing, but a runner at first with 2 outs. Then Adames gets caught stealing. It was originally ruled safe, overturned. The throw was a little bit ahead for a guy that doesn't often steal, but they were trying to get the running game going to try and get the offense. And I had expected that as well for Kevin Cash. He was just going to be aggressive, especially in the early goings when the score was close. Wanted to get that advantage, and he ultimately ended up getting it, but the caught stealing there. Bottom of the second for Snell. We thought maybe this is where it would become unraveled. A leadoff walk to Max Muncy. I'm seeing Max Muncy's a left-hander, so I'm seeing a slider low and away taken, a slider low and away taken, and a couple of fastballs high. That's just kind of Blake Snell. Another thing as well, for Blake Snell, he does far better, it looks like, I have the splits here, and I knew I was going to talk about this. He does, batting average not much, but he does better against lefties than he does against righties. OBP and slugging and OPS. So let me just give you the slash line. Against righties, Snell is 226, 308, and then 680 basically. So that's batting average, OBP, and OPS. And then against lefties, allows 213, 276, and 587. So as you go down the line, it gets more and more drastic. So for Snell, my point of saying that is you got to be able to get the lefties out easily, and then whatever happens against the righties happens. But instead, he was walking a lot of lefties early on, which that's really something to be upset about, because why not just challenge them? Why not just try and get them out instead of just pitching around them and trying to walk them? So a leadoff walk to a lefty, strikes out Will Smith, walks another lefty in Bellinger, a 4-pitch walk, curveball low, fastball low and away, slider low and away, and a fastball just kind of low. So just, whatever. First and second. Then gets Pollock to pop out and strikes out Kike Hernandez in 3 pitches. So that was nice to see him, I guess, kind of come back there in that spot and be able to overcome it. Top of the third, it was still Dylan Floro on. Kiermaier grounds out, Zanino pops out. Then they make another pitching change. Victor Gonzalez comes in and gets Austin Meadows. So 1-2-3 there for the Rays. Bottom of the third, Snell responds with a 1-2-3 against the 9-1-2 hitters. Gets Taylor to strike out. Gets Betts to ground out, so he goes 0 for 2. Betts going into the game was like batting over 300 in his career against Snell. We saw him a lot with the Boston Red Sox. And then he gets Corey Seager as well to strike out. So a nice little response there from Snell. At the end of 3 innings, it was still 1-0 Rays. Top of the fourth, Victor Gonzalez remains on. Brandon Lau starts out by grounding out to second on an 0-2. It was just a slider low and away that he, I guess, just got a little bit of contact with. Then they walk Arozarena. He takes a fastball in the zone for a strike, and then they throw him 4 straight sliders, and he didn't. The 4 straight sliders low and in as well, and he just took them all and works his walk. Then G-Man Choi grounds basically a double play ball, but runs out the double play. So it's a runner at first with 2 outs. Make another pitching change. In comes Dustin May. Margot singles off of May, starts off 0-2, but then it was a sinker. Just a lot of pitches that have a lot of movement for Dustin May, but singles off of a kind of a sinker, first and second with 2 outs. Then Joey Wendell comes up and doubles, a 2 RBI double that makes it 3-0 Rays. So that was good to see. And then Adames grounds out with Wendell at second base, but they do get some runs on the board there. Very nice to see. And then Snell puts up another 1-2-3, gets Turner, Muncy, and Will Smith. Muncy and Smith as well strike out. Muncy strikes out on a slider. Smith strikes out on a curveball. So had those pitches going, and those were both low in the zone. Top of the 5th, Dustin May remains on. Lau gets to him again. Kiermaier strikes out. Zunino grounds out. We go back to the top of the order. Meadows hits a single. That was his only hit of the day. He ends up in just those 3 at-bats. So he gets on with 2 outs. Up comes Brandon Lau again. Starts off 0-2, including chasing a curveball well out of the zone. But then gives him another curveball, but just hung it. Middle, kind of cement mixer pitch at 85. Lau makes him pay. Goes oppo again. 381 feet to left. Lau scores. Meadows scores. It's 5-0 Rays. And then a Rosarena grounds out on the first pitch to end the inning. A cutter middle. Bottom of the 5th, Blake Snell on. Gets Bellinger to ground out. Starts him off 0-2. Then just a fastball, kind of middle away. Gets him to ground out. There you go. A.J. Pollock strikes out swinging on a slider. Kind of low and into him. 2 outs. Bases clear. All right, let's get out of this 5th inning. He had only thrown probably at that point 70 pitches or so. So, I mean, he was, kind of cruising. Walks Kike Hernandez. Okay, throws a couple of changeups taken for balls. Then gets a cold strike on another changeup. A lot of these, like half of these pitches look like they could have been called for strikes, to be honest with you. I'm just looking at this pitch diagram on ESPN, so that's a little bit strange. It was a fastball low and in. Yeah, just pitches, I guess. I don't know. That bat could have gone a little differently, to be honest with you. But a 2-out walk to Kike Hernandez. Okay, whatever. It's 5-0. Let's get out of this 5th. No. Chris Taylor, 398 feet to right. Puts up 2 runs on the board, 5-2 Rays. On a 2-1 count, it was a curveball that caught too much of the plate. It was just like middle away, I guess, and he was able to go the opposite way with it, as you would expect. It's 5-2 Rays, as I said. He walks Betts, gives up a single to Seager, so it's first and second with 2 outs. He's gotten into officially a mess. They take him out, and comes Nick Anderson, so they have to use him in that spot. Nick Anderson coming in the 5th, but gets Turner to strike out, which was nice to see for a lineup that doesn't strike out a ton with men on base to end the inning. Top of the 6th, Joe Kelly comes on. Leadoff single for Choi. Single for Margot. First and third, no outs. Wendell, sacrifice fly, his 3rd RBI of the day. 6-2 Rays. Margot gets the second on an error from Max Muncy. They throw it to first, trying to get the pick off, but it was, I guess, Muncy didn't scoop it out of the dirt or whatever the case. So it's second and third, I think. I'm a little bit confused. Adama strikes out. Kiermaier strikes out. So they leave the men on base either way. No, it's just a runner at second. So with 1 out, and Adames and Kiermaier leave him there. Bottom of the 6th, Nick Anderson remains on to get another 3 outs. Mac Muncy pops out. Then Will Smith, 414 feet to left. It was a curveball that just wasn't down enough. It caught a lot of the plate. Okay, you live and die with that. I know the Astros took advantage of that curveball a couple of times. So it's 6-3 Rays. Gets Bellinger to ground out. Rios in a pinch hit strikes out. So after 6 innings, it was 6-3 Rays. Top of the 7th, it was Alex Wood on for the Dodgers. Gets Zunino to ground out. Yandy Diaz pinch hits for Meadows. He ends up getting a couple of at-bats. He ends up singling and working a walk. So he's had a nice World Series here thus far. He singles to deep right. Then Lau grounds out but moves Yandy to second base. They intentionally walk a Rosarena, and then they pull out the double. Was it at that point? I think, yeah, they do the double, or no. That was later on, which is strange that they got that situation again. So it was first and second with 2 outs. Brasso hits for Choi to get the righty-lefty, and Brasso strikes out swinging to lead the men on base. Bottom of the 7th, Fairbanks on for the Rays. He gets 3 outs easily against Jock Peterson, Chris Taylor, and Mookie Betts easily. So that was good to see for him. A nice little start. Hadn't thrown very many pitches either. Top of the 8th for the Rays. Alex Wood remains on. Margot strikes out in 3 pitches. Wendell grounds out. Adames hits a double. Starts off 0-2. Then gets a sinker kind of middle into him. So he's able to pull it to left. Gets on second. Then Kiermaier leaves him there. He ended up going, as we said, 0-2 with the runners in scoring position on the day. So he had left a runner at second base. Is that right? And not back-to-back innings, but with 1 inning, I guess, between them. Bottom of the 8th, Fairbanks remains on. This was kind of a curious decision, I thought. I had a conversation with, actually, Sebastian during the game about this, because he had asked me, he said, do you think that Fairbanks will stay on in the 8th? And I looked at my scorecard, and I see he would have to face, basically, if he pitches the entire inning, when you can kind of mix and match, but 2 lefties and a righty, the lefties being Seager and Muncy. So it's at the top of the order as well. So I'd said probably not. And he said, what are his splits? So I was like, okay, that's a good point. I had not imagined that I thought they would be as you'd expect. He's better at getting righties out than lefties. In his career, he gives up a .313 average to righties, a .187 average to lefties. So he's actually like much, much better, almost twice as good against lefties as he is against righties. And sometimes the sample size is a little bit skewed. No, not really. 115 plate appearances against righties, 101 plate appearances against lefties, and then 99 to 91 as far as at bat. So Fairbanks, for whatever reason, again, I guess reverse splits are a thing nowadays. But he's much better against lefties, so okay, yeah, you give him the 8th inning, no problem, and splits are something I should probably look at a little bit more, because it's very telling and kind of predicting where Catch will go with things. And it seemed like to him it was a no-brainer to leave him in the 8th inning. Obviously, they do that kind of prep going into the game. They know that kind of spot that they would want to leave him in for. It was basically the same lineup as last night for the Dodgers. I mean, it's righty-lefty, righty-lefty. That's just what they have to work with, and they're basically going to field the same guys more or less every night. So Fairbanks stays on to pitch the 8th, and the reason why I spent so much time talking about that, Seager immediately, well, on a 1-2 count, gets a slider middle. It was just a cement mixer pitch, so I don't know if that's a matchup thing. That's just a bad pitch thing. But Seager, ouch, 425 feet to center. Hits it out of the park, 6-4 Rays. So all of a sudden it's a 2-run game. The Rays can't afford to go down 0-2, so all of a sudden, the alarm bells are going off everywhere. Then Justin Turner hits a double, and this was the one I'm pretty confident where Kiermaier and Margot essentially collide. If Margot didn't come in, and I don't know if miscommunication, now that there's fans, it's a little bit different as well. Kiermaier would have had that ball if that center field was all to himself, but Kiermaier at the end kind of had to lay off because Margot was coming in, but as we see all the time, neither of them end up making a play on it, and Turner settles for 2. I mean, if he had run the whole thing on it, maybe could have gotten a third, and again, that's with no out. So, and again, that run would have made it 6-5. So, Turner gets the double, with no outs. Then Max Muncy comes up, the cleanup hitter. Fairbanks still in, mind you, and gets him to fly out, but pretty fairly deep there for 1 out. Then Will Smith lines out, a slider middle, pretty much crushed, but right into the glove of Joey Wendell, which will be kind of one of the defining moments of this postseason. The final out of the ALDS against the Yankees, and then I think it was like Game 2 or Game 3 against the Astros, where he got like 8 ground balls at third base that were like diving plays. So, of course, Joey Wendell at third base, making another huge play defensively, keeps the runner at second. At that point, they take Fairbanks out and put in Loop to get the final out. It's the lefty Bellinger, so you want that righty-lefty matchup. I would have been fine with Loop coming in to start the 8th inning, although I think Loop's splits are reverse as well. He's actually better against righties than lefties, so the whole thing is convoluted. But either way, Bellinger ends up striking out. Some really good pitches from Aaron Loup. I mean, he was pumping 94, 95, which we don't really see. I think he's 30, 31 years old or so. Let me make sure exactly. I know he spent all those years with the Blue Jays. He's 32 years old, so kind of a crafty veteran that the Rays brought in. They don't do that a ton. I mean, Chas Roque, another one of those guys that they did that with. But Bellinger strikes out with a man on second. After 8, it's 6-4 Rays. Top of the ninth, Zunino grounds out. Yandy Diaz works a walk, which is good. A couple of favorable calls, it looks like, in there, but ends up getting the free pass to first. Brandon Lowe strikes out. He fouls off a fastball. He swings through a fastball in the middle of the zone, and then swings through another fastball high. So kind of reverting back to that stuff that's a little bit frustrating. So hopefully he'll be more in his early inning form on Friday. Then a Rosarena reaches on an infield single, so it's first and second with 2 outs. Then they do the double pinch run thing. Renfroe runs for Diaz, which basically just takes over the DH spot. He didn't end up playing the field, I don't believe. He just, I guess, stayed at DH. And then Brett Phillips runs for a Rosarena, and we got a question about that on the show. To me, it just, I think, and Dave Wills and Andy Fried were talking about this on the broadcast. It looked like Brett Phillips was going to come in to play defense anyway, so you just pinch run to get, even if it's just a slight advantage, because I think Cash said that Brett Phillips is a tick faster than Randy, which is fine. I don't doubt that. The fact that a Rosarena is DH so much, including in Game 1, leads me to believe that Kevin Cash doesn't love him defensively. I mean, he's fine defensively. Next year, I would imagine he'll be an everyday player in left field, and that's just going to be the case. If Kiermaier's still around, or maybe it'll be Brett Phillips in center, but a Rosarena in left and Austin Meadows in right field, most likely. But either way, that defensive move would have been made, so you just pinch run there. But a double pinch run is a little weird, so I understand that. But all that just for Mike Brasso to leave runners in scoring position again. A fastball middle, jumps on it, which I appreciate. Don't take those pitches like the Rays have been prone to do. But you leave the runners there. Mike Brasso, I believe, only got 2 at-bats in the game, and he ended up going 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. So as a pinch hitter, he comes up in some big spots, didn't come through. He's only had 1 hit since that home run in Game 5 against the Yanks, so he's cooled off a little bit, certainly, and I think that 1 hit was actually last night. Bottom of the ninth. This is where it gets good, I guess. Aaron Loup stays on. I was kind of hoping they'd let him finish it off so I could gush about an Aaron Loup World Series save. That was a meme for the ages, I suppose, with some of the frustrations we've had with Loup over the course of the season. Strikes out Rios in 3 pitches. Just some really good pitching from Loup. It was just kind of fun to watch him deal tonight. Pinch hit for Barnes. He flies out to left. 2 outs, bases empty. They bring in Castillo to face Chris Taylor. They want the righty on righty. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. In a 6-4 game, just lock it up. Off day tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about saving Castillo. And just blows him away. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. 3 pitches. Took the first 2 and chased a slider there. So Rays win. Tied up the World Series at 1 game apiece. A 6-4 win over the Dodgers. I don't know. Obviously, it's good for a win. I would have liked to, I don't know if you feel great about a 6-4 win, only because I don't know how many more times the Rays are going to be able to score 6 more runs in the series, because it took a lot. It took the top of the order, Brandon Lowe especially, to do what he did, but also Joey Wendell at the bottom. I mean, runs batted in, it was 2 guys, but Brandon Lowe bats in 3 runs, and Joey Wendell bats in 3 runs. One is a number 2 hitter, and one is a number 6 hitter. So the lineup was going top to bottom. They did leave a lot of meat on the bone again, 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position and 7 men left on base. So if they could just come through in that category, they could get 6 runs easily just because of how many base runners they get. Again, they get 14 base runners tonight, get 6 runs. So, and that's not bad. I guess half of your base runners essentially end up coming across to score. If that's, I guess, correct math, I don't know. 6 of 14, a little under 50%. You get the idea. So, with that being said, we look ahead now to Game 3, as I don't believe that there's any notes that I'm missing. I know these World Series shows have run a little bit long, but I don't think anyone particularly minds. Game 3, it will be... so off day tomorrow, then at 8:08 on Friday night, Charlie Morton against Walker Buehler. Game 3, first of, I guess, and now what has become a best of 5. We'll take a peek at Walker Buehler first, and I think Charlie Morton is pretty straightforward. Walker Buehler, the righty, he's 1-0 during the regular season with a 3.44 ERA, and we can get his postseason stats as well. In the postseason, he's pitched 19 innings to the tune of a 1.89 ERA, so he's really come on fairly strong in the postseason. But against the Brewers in the Wild Card Series, he had a 4-inning start of 2 runs. 73 pitches thrown, and in his only NLDS start against the Padres, 4 innings of 1 run, so not great, really, at that point. Then, in his first NLCS start, went 5 innings of 1 run against the Braves, and then in his second NLCS start, 6 innings of no runs against the Braves. So, again, and he was a guy that was a Cy Young type guy, a season ago, and I guess kind of struggled, but did not actually pitch a whole lot. He didn't pitch until, no, that's right. I mean, he started the season, but I think may have missed a bit of time to injury or so. He just did not pitch a whole lot. Didn't get a lot of innings, anything like that. So, that is what it is. I'm seeing it I just want to point this out because I have the ESPN on the other monitor. I just caught my notice. Multiple opposite field home runs in a single postseason game in MLB history. There's only 5 players to ever do it. Brandon Lau in the 2020 World Series. Yandy Diaz in the 2019 Wild Card game. I thought that was the case. Carlos Delgado in the 2006 NLCS. Fred McGriff in the 1995 NLCS. And Reggie Jackson in the 1971 ALCS. So, Mr. October himself. So, that doesn't happen a whole lot, and that was the only time it happened in the World Series. So that's certainly interesting, and that more to my point about what Brandon Lau was doing. But back to the point of against Walker Buehler, he's gonna be good. I mean, it looks like he's gonna get 5 or 6 innings of maybe no runs or maybe a run. So I would say the Rays strategy, just see a lot of pitches. Let's take a peek at his last start and just see how he was doing as far as his control, to see if he will throw a lot of balls. 89 pitches, 65 strikes. He faced 25 batters through first pitch strike to 16, so he's going to establish that first pitch strike relatively well and establish the strike zone, at least off of that one start, but it is his most recent start, so... I don't know, just see pitches. I mean, I know the Rays have kind of gone down in counts early for taking strikes, but I think that you're not going to really get a whole lot off of them. And another reason, I mean, if the Dodgers bullpen was lights out, I would say it doesn't matter. Just try and get runs wherever you can get them. But this Dodgers bullpen is certainly gettable. We've yet to see Jansen. We've yet to see Trinan. I know those are their A guys, but let's see them because in Game 1, they didn't come out because the lead was so large and Kershaw was dealing. So if you can kind of flip the script, you don't have to get runs off of Buehler, but just get him out after 5, and then get the bullpen going. I know there's going to be an off day, so they can throw out a lot of those guys before maybe Pedro Baez or Trinan or Jansen come on, but gives yourself the best chance to win, I'd say. That's really all I can say about him. I don't watch him play a whole lot. Saw him a little bit in the NLCS, but not enough to really make any kind of comments. But we all know he's good. So that's that for that. Charlie Morton. I'm not even going to give you his regular season stats because they're irrelevant. In this 2020 postseason, 15 2/3 innings pitched, an 0.57 ERA. What is he? He's 5 innings of 1 or no runs. Against the Yankees, 5 innings of 1 run. Against the Astros, 5 innings of no runs. Against the Astros in Game 7, by the way, 5 2/3 of no runs. I say it every time we preview a Morton start. What is Charlie Morton? He is 5 innings of 1 or 2 runs, or in this case in the postseason, 1 or no runs, which I would love to see. That's just what he is. He'll run into an inning every night where he'll lose control and maybe walk a couple of guys. whatever the case, and he ends up usually working around that. He's kind of the king of getting out of bases loaded jams and things like that. No spot is too big for him. He's pitched in multiple Game 7s. He's closed out a World Series Game 7. Obviously, he's not going to be overtaken by the moment. A huge part of, I think when we brought him in, I mean, who the hell knew if he would ever appear even in a postseason game? I mean, we had hoped that he would because, I mean, that was following the 90-win season in 2018 that we signed him. They go to the postseason in 19. He pitches the wild card game, gets the win, pitches an elimination game in the ALDS, including the first home postseason game since 2013, gets the win. And then going into this season, pitches a crucial game against the Yankees, pitches a good game against the Astros where the Rays won, and then pitched a Game 7 against the Astros where, of course, the Rays won. So he's been huge. I think he's Charlie Morton and Randy Arozarena, no matter what happens, are going to go down as the biggest figures in this postseason for the Rays. So 5 innings, that's what we expect out of him. And then in the bullpen, I mean, there's no real point to, I guess, trying to figure out how they're going to mix and match. But we know the A guys, Anderson, Castillo, Fairbanks. Fairbanks and Anderson have proved they can get multiple innings, like maybe 4 or 5 outs as they did tonight. Castillo, I think, traditionally has been kind of a one-inning guy, so you kind of pick your spot with him. Anderson, obviously, is the guy that comes out to put out the flames early in the game, but with Morton, I would not suspect to be the case. Morton will probably finish the 5th inning, and then whatever the case, I mean, if he's dealing like he was in Game 7, he could get 6 or maybe even 7 innings, but I doubt that. Probably 6 innings at the max. So then, or let's just say he gets 5. Who's your guy to come out in the 6th? Take your pick. Ryan Thompson, Ryan Sheriff, Aaron Loop, maybe John Curtis, even, so one of those. Then in the 7th, maybe you go Anderson or Fairbanks. Then in the 8th, Fairbanks. Then in the 9th, maybe Castillo. It's the way it seems like it's been going. But, of course, if that doesn't necessarily go to the plan or you got to go off script or whatever, they've got all those guys. We haven't seen Ryan Thompson yet, but he's a guy that I'm pretty large on and would like to see him maybe make an appearance again. I think he was 0 for 11 or 0 for 10 in the regular season with allowing inherited base runners to come across a score. So he just did not let a single one score. So, he's a guy that I'd mentioned with Blake Snell could put out some flames if they didn't want to use Anderson. There was flames to be put out, but they end up having Anderson extinguish them, which is more to be expected. But Thompson can handle that spot as well. Has yet to make the World Series appearance, but maybe we'll see it down the line. Again, it's going to be an off day tomorrow. And then as well, the Rays will be the designated home team on a Friday night. It seemed like they're moving on from the dark blue jerseys, which I like. I know a lot of people have been kind of crying about that because they play bad every time they wear them. They wear the road grays, the full road grays, the gray pants and the road gray jersey for the first time since that late September regular season matchup against Jake DeGrom and the Mets. So it's been a while. Haven't brought them out in the postseason, and they wore the home white jerseys for the first time in Game 7 of the ALCS. Before that, it was pretty much all dark, or basically the navy blue jerseys. But this weekend, I don't know. They're not going to break out the Devil Rays, but it might be. The dark blue may come in one time. Not that this is important, but probably the home whites maybe on Friday and Saturday. And the Sunday game is a designated home game, and guaranteed to be Game 5 at this point. My guess is they're going to wear the Columbia Blues and the Devil Ray caps because it is a designated home Sunday game. So I think that's kind of neat to see and see him in the World Series. That was something that was kind of running through my mind. So I'm interested to see. Although the only time they wear them outside the Trop is during spring training, so it is a little odd that it's going to be in the World Series. But either way, against the righty Walker Buehler, just final comment really to make. They're going to go lefties. I don't know how many. I would think maybe go aggressive because you're going to need all the help you can get against Buehler. I know this may take a minute. Let me just get the splits up on Buehler to make sure he's not one of those insane like reverse splits guys. I just want to make sure. Again, it'll probably take me an hour to actually find the numbers that I'm looking for. But either way, because if he's reverse splits, then throw everything out the window. Okay, I think we have it here. sample size is pretty much about the same. He's faced as many righties basically as he has lefties in his career. Gives up a 217 average to righties and a 203 average to lefties. So, of course, it's another reverse split, which is like driving me nuts. Why is this happening? I didn't realize this was so prominent. So actually, you may not pitch as much lefties. So you may actually go, like 5 lefties, 4 righties. I don't exactly know what the case will be, but I would imagine outfield from left to right, you're going to want Randy in left, Kiermaier in center. If they may go Renfroe at right, but because he's seen Buehler a lot. I don't know exactly to what extent for average, but I know with Renfroe spending time with the Padres, they play the Dodgers a lot, so he's seen them. As has Manny Margot, though, as well. So it's either going to be Margot or Renfroe, most likely in right. I would imagine, unless they go crazy with righty-lefty stuff, which it doesn't look like they'll do because of the splits. Looking at infield, probably go Joey Wendell at third, pretty traditional. Adames at shortstop, Brandon Lau at second. I would go G-Man Choi at first. Probably Mike Zunino will end up catching again, and then the DH. Take your pick. It would either Yandy Diaz or Austin Meadows, and with righty lefty, I would imagine they'll probably go Austin Meadows, and probably to the similar extent. I mean, Meadows will lead off, Choi cleans up, that kind of stuff. I mean, again, it's the same, like I said, lineup that we'll see tonight. Lau will bat second, Arozarena third, and then the 5 through 9 is where you can get a little bit creative. Margot, I don't know if I think he did fine in the 5 hole tonight, but maybe Wendell moves up, Adames moves up, whatever. Then Kiermaier and Zunino are your 8 or 9. So that's what we know about that. With that being said, we close the show. About an hour and a half program tonight. Appreciate everyone who tuned into the show. Appreciate Sebastian who called in. Always love having him on the show. Brought some good stuff to the table, as he always does. We'll be off tomorrow. There's a Thursday night football game. There's also another television event, which I won't say anything else about. So take your pick of stuff you're going to want to watch. It's Eagles and Giants. They're both crummy teams, but some NFC East stuff is at play. Rays back on Friday night for Game 3. We'll be back on the air after that game. Hopefully they win. As always, we'll talk to you then.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC